Hello, friend. Piano Man Steve here, founder of the Piano Man Approach online piano courses. I appreciate you joining me today. What we have in store for you is a little masterclass lesson on Amazing by Aerosmith, one of my favorite tunes from that particular era. And of course, I just love Aerosmith as a band, so this is going to be a lot of fun to do. What we're going to do is run it through my 5-step magic song learning formula. So I'll show you how to use my approach to the piano to play this song relatively quickly and hopefully have a lot of fun along the way, and show you how you can do this if you're a more beginner or intermediate player, as well as some advanced tricks for my folks that have been doing this a long time. Before we get started, let me just ask very shamelessly that if you enjoy this kind of free content, I would sure appreciate it if you would give this video a like and subscribe to the channel and leave comments, share it with people that you think might like it, and even more important than that, talk about it. Just talk about it with anyone who you think might find it interesting. So, okay. So here's the deal. We don't read notes on a staff over at the Piano Man Approach. That's a no-no for us. I think it's far too constrictive. You're completely at the mercy of the arranger, which might have been a good arrangement or a bad arrangement. And on top of that, they don't know your skill level, and so you don't have a point of entry. It might be so easy that it's too boring, and it might be so hard that it's unapproachable. So we don't read notes on a staff. What we do is we look at the guitar chords above the staff. And I call them guitar chords. They're really just chord symbols. But the way that I derived this particular method is that I noticed that there were people who weren't particularly good musicians who could play most things on acoustic guitar. And I could not figure out why it worked so well on that instrument, but the piano, it seemed like you had to be a virtuoso to do anything with, and I wanted to see if there was a way to do the same thing. And what it came down to was, on an acoustic guitar, or any guitar really, they learned, how to form something like a dozen or maybe a few more chords than that, but just basically 10 or 12 open chords on the neck of the guitar. And then they had a strumming pattern that they could use with their right hand, and that would create enough of the essence of the song to get them by. Well, it turns out there is a way to do this on piano, and I call them rhythm patterns. It's what I've been calling them for many, many years, and there are now a lot of other piano teachers on YouTube using that same terminology, but I've been doing it since 2010. So, but we take the chords and then we plug them into a rhythm pattern, and then I have several kind of simple, approachable, chord-based improv tips that we can use to kind of spice things up, dress them up, make it a little more interesting, enhance. So that's what we're going to be working with. The 5-step formula starts, I call it the glide formula, because you can glide your way through learning just about any song. Starts with G, get the chords. Get the chords, which you can do in a number of places. As of the filming of this video, my favorite resource is ultimateguitartabs.com, but really any app that does this will have a lot of options. So whatever your poison is, or your preferred flavor of poison anyway, just find a place that has the chords and get your hands on them. Second step is L, G-L. Listen to the song. So find it on YouTube, find it on Spotify or Amazon Music or Apple Music, and have a listen, because you need to be fresh with what it kind of sounds like, what works, so that when we start the next step, it's kind of fresh in your mind. And the next step is identify the feel. And what that means is that we're going to pick a rhythm pattern. And I have 4 essential feels that cover probably 90% of popular songs, at least to, well enough as a point of entry. So let's try a couple of those out. The first feel that I have, I call the basic feel, and that's where you play quarter notes with your left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then you can do a lot of different things with your right hand, but just as a basis, we start with just coming down on beats 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this song is in A minor. I'm not going to take the time in this video to like break down what every single chord is. So I'm going to take it for granted that you know how to form an A minor chord or a G chord or whatever. But if you don't know that, watch the video just to get an understanding of how this process works, and then know that all you have to do is find a resource, which for example, in my crash course, which is my sort of flagship, we teach all of the major and minor chords there. But there's a lot of places you can go, and once you have your major and minor chords under your hands, then you can start enjoying all the other steps in my process. So there's value even if you don't know the chords in this video for you to just see a different way to approach learning a song. Okay, so it's in A minor, A, C, E, like so. And we're just going to try it with this rhythm pattern. It feels a little choppy to me, but let's just try a little bit of the song. So I kept the right ones out, let the wrong ones in. Had an angel of mercy to see me through all my sins. There were times in my life when I was going insane. Yeah, too choppy, not right. So this is not going to be the right rhythm pattern. So let's try a different one. There's the country feel. I suspect that's not going to work either. But the country feel doesn't only apply to country songs, nor does every country song fit into it. It's just the name that I've chosen for it because it does fit a lot of them. And that's where you play the root of the chord and then the 5 of the chord back and forth. So what is the 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're working your way up that A minor scale. And you have an E. So we're alternating between A and E. And then in the beats in between, you're just going to come down on a chord in your right hand. So you get kind of a chuck effect. You can think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Doesn't really matter, but that's the count. So let's see how that sounds. I'm pretty sure this won't be right either, but this could be interesting. I kept the right ones out and let the wrong ones in. I had an angel of mercy to see me through all my sins. And there were times in my life when I was going insane. I was trying to walk through the pain. No, I don't think we're going to turn it into a polka. But that would be an interesting thing to do with that song. Maybe Weird Al Yankovic will do it that way. Okay. Another one that I think we can rule out is going to be the waltz feel, because the waltz feel, that is something that really only works with songs that have 3 beats per measure instead of either 2 or 4. This has clearly got 1, 2, 3, 4. Kept the right ones out, 3, 4. And let the wrong ones in, 3, 4. So we're not going to be able to play something that's based on 3 beats per measure with this. So we can just rule the waltz feel completely out, which leaves us the syncopated feel, or what I call affectionately the heartbeat feel. And the heartbeat feel is where we play with a little syncopation, and it kind of simulates the sound of a heartbeat. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, right? Can you hear that? Bump, 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 bump. And on the top, until we have other things that we want to do for enhancement, we just play quarter notes. So like this. Try it out. I kept the right ones out and let the wrong ones in. I had an angel of mercy to see me through all my sins. Can you hear the song coming to life? Times in my life when I was going insane, trying to walk through the pain. My grip. I mean, it's like, can you just immediately hear how it's like, it's found its home. Ding, 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 ding. We've got a winner, right? So that's our feel. We've identified the feel. We're going to be using the heartbeat, the syncopated feel for this. So the next step after that is to D, G-L-I-D, drill it down. What I mean by that is, you want to get the chords and you want to get the chord sequence under your hands. You don't want to be having to spend much brain power at all determining where am I going next, right? Like what's that chord and how do I form it? Because if you're doing that, you really just don't have the brain power available to do any kind of improv. And the improv is not like super complicated that we're going to be looking at. And you'll see what I mean here in a minute in the next step. But you just really want to clear the decks. You don't want to have to be focusing on where you're going. So we're just going to play through. I'm just going to kind of play through the bulk of the song here so that you can see a drill down. We're not going to add any frills. We're not going to enhance any of the chords or the rhythm pattern. We're just going to play it as simple as possible. And this is what we end up with. Let the right ones out, let the wrong ones in. Had an angel of mercy to see me through all my sins. There were times in my life when I was going insane, trying to walk through the pain. My grip and I hit the floor. Yeah, I thought I could leave, but I couldn't get out the door. I was so sick and tired of living a lie, wishing that I would die. It's amazing, of an eye, you finally see the light. Oh, it's amazing when the moment arrives that you know you'll be alright. Yeah, it's amazing, and I'm saying a prayer for the desperate hearts tonight. That one last shot's a permanent vacation. And how high can you fly with broken wings? Life's a journey, not a destination. And I just can't tell just what tomorrow brings. You have to learn to crawl. Okay, so you get the picture here. The whole song just kind of comes together beautifully with this rhythm pattern. And the reason why I played as much of it as I did is that what I want you to notice is If you didn't have the skill level or the experience yet to do another thing with this song, and all you could do is get enough of your major and minor chords down so that you could play these chords and learn this rhythm pattern well enough and the hand independence well enough that you could play this rhythm pattern, didn't that sound pretty good? I mean, isn't it amazing how well the song is represented by something so simple? And so it's really great that we can do all this other fun stuff with it, but you don't have to, right? Like, you're covered. You're covered. This is the, the simple acoustic guitar analog. Now, from there, the next step is E, enhance with signatures and simple chord-based improv. Enhance. So what we're going to do is just look at some different ideas of things that could be done, that don't have to be done, but you get to choose what you do and don't do for the sake of improv and enhancement. So the opening, the intro to this, and by the way, I have the chords and the lyrics down in the video description, so you can check that out if you don't have another resource for it. For this song, I wanted it to be there for you. So we start out, and the opening chord is an A minor. And then it goes to a G chord in the right hand, but it's written as G/A. And what it means is a G chord over an A bass. That's all that ever means. So, G. Now, if you wanted to, what you could do is you could add one of my very, very favorite simple improv things is, I call it toggling. And that's where you play the top part of the chord, right, with your fingers, and then you toggle to your thumb and back. And this song really would work well for that. See what I'm doing there? And I'm not, you can pick and choose where you put your toggles. You don't have to like pick some kind of a pattern and stick to it all the way through. You can just, so I'm playing quarter note, toggle. Could be. Right? So there's any number of combinations you can do, but that really sounds nice, and it just adds a little bit of flavor, right? It's not a massive change, but you can hear, I kept the right ones out and let the wrong ones in. Had an angel of mercy to see me through all my sin. So it's just nice. Just adds a little bit of depth and dimension that maybe wasn't there before. Another one that I like to use are arpeggios. Arpeggios, in the most technical sense, are when you're taking a chord and you're playing the individual notes of that chord instead of playing the chord as a block. Right? So we can do things like this. Ones out, I let the wrong ones in. I had an angel of mercy to see me through all my sins. There were times in my life. Okay, so it's just something that you can do to fill a little space or to make something sound a little more interesting. That's all. And sometimes you can literally create an arpeggiated based, like you could just have a whole arpeggiated strategy for the rhythm pattern itself. And it would work fine on this song, but since we're not trying to copy exactly what was going on in that song with the piano as much as we're trying to really kind of create the essence of what was happening in the whole recording with the whole band. I'm probably not going to do that in this song because the straight quarter notes and the toggling sounds a little more natural and more kind of analogous to what they were doing. But I might use some arpeggios just for, a little something to spice up a spot in between the melody. I kept the right ones out and let the wrong ones in. I had an angel of mercy to see me through all my sins. I was so sick and tired. I'm in the wrong verse, but just giving you an idea of those kinds of things. So arpeggios and toggles are really, really useful. Now, another thing that we can do is you can look at where you're voicing your chords. So every chord is made up, every basic major and minor are made up of 3 notes, right? So this A minor chord is made up by A, C, and E, right? Well, it doesn't really matter. If you play it like this, we call this root inversion because the root of the chord, A, is on the bottom of the way I'm voicing it. However, these 3 notes make up an A minor chord, whether you're playing them here, or here, or here, right? So this is first inversion. That happens to have the 3, 5, 1. So the 3 is on the bottom. This is second inversion with the 5 on the bottom. 5, 1, 3. So you can give it a slightly different sonic flavor by trying different chord inversions. Kept the right ones out and let the wrong ones in. Had an angel of mercy to keep me through all my sin. There were times in my life I was going insane. Okay? So you can choose where you want to be doing this. You can pick the register of the piano that you want to be on, because that'll make it sound a little different every time. Even though you're still playing the right chord, if you play it up here, see how that sounds very different than if you're playing it here. It's correct harmonically, so it works, but it sounds very different. And you are the maestro. You get to decide. I'm not going to tell you what sounds best and what doesn't sound right. You don't have to try to copy what they're doing. You don't have to make it sound as much like what they're doing as possible. I kind of trend in that direction in these videos because it's the basis that everybody can kind of latch onto. They've heard it that way. But I want you to feel completely creatively empowered here. There is no right, there is no wrong. There is what you like and what you don't like. So if you try something, whether it's technically correct or not, if you don't like the sound of it, don't do it. Do something else. And if you like the sound of it, it's in bounds. All right? That's how this works. Part of what makes this method so much fun, because you really are in the driver's seat for creativity on this. Okay, so, by the way, that was just arpeggios up, working my way through the inversions of the chords. But anyway, So you get to choose the inversion, you get to choose toggles and arpeggios. Now let's look at the left hand. What can we do there that would change things up a little bit? Well, we're probably going to keep our syncopated rhythm going. However, maybe you've noticed that in the first verse of this, it's a little more subdued than when you get to the chorus, okay? And so perhaps we make it a little less heavy. Because if you think of your left hand as being the drummer and the bass player together, that's what they are. Or that's what your left hand is. It's much, much more relaxed. It's much quieter and less heavy in that first verse than it is when we get to "It's amazing. In the blink of an eye, you finally see the light." Okay? So notice what I'm doing here is I'm going to play these octaves like this, but I'm going to let my pinky just resonate, just hold that note long. And I'm going to keep the rhythm pattern part of it, the syncopation and the heartbeat going just with my thumb. I kept the right ones out, let the wrong ones in. Had an angel of mercy to see me through all my sins. There were times in my life when I was going insane, trying to walk through the pain. Notice when we get to that go back into that A minor. Why am I doing that? Because you can kind of hear that in the bend. The pain, dum, 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 right? So I'm just giving it a little bit of that emphasis. And so we're just going to kind of pound on that 1 and 2 and ba, da. Now, when I want it to have a little bit more pace and a little bit more rhythmic excitement, now I'm going to definitely play. So, trying to walk through the pain when I lost my grip and I hit the floor. I thought I could leave, but I couldn't get out the door. I was so sick and tired of living a lie, wishing that I would die. It's amazing. In the blink of an eye, you finally see the light. Okay, so now we have this spot where we have sort of a prolonged held chord. Blink of an eye, you finally see the light. And Joe Perry is like going, you know, just doing a little guitar thingy. Well, it doesn't translate that well to piano to try to play a guitar line most of the time. But what we can do is say, okay, we want to add a little bit of excitement in that area because it's in between the melodies. So what I do a lot of times is just on the chord that I'm on, I just kind of play something rhythmically interesting with it. Let me give you an example. It's amazing. With the blink of an eye, you finally see the light. So what was I doing there? Okay. So rhythmically, I was just kind of pounding it on some kind of syncopation stuff. Bump, ba bump, bump, ba bump, 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 ba bump, bump. And you know, it's different every time, but the idea is I'm just sort of playing it almost like a drum fill. If you think about it, it's like I'm using my right hand to do like a tom fill. So it's like, in moment arrive, you finally see the light. Ba-doom, ga-doom, doom, doom, doom. Ba-doo-doom, doom, ba-doom, ba-ga-doom. And I'm kind of doing that with that chord, just kind of pounding it, creating like a drum fill on the chord. Now, the other thing that I did was, this is one of my favorite little maneuvers, especially when you're doing a rhythmic fill like that. It's something that we learned from playing the blues. And that is, this is a G chord. The 4 of a G, 1, 2, 3, 4, is C. And so what we do is we switch to a C chord. We switch to the 4 chord. And C, C, E, G, right? And notice they have connective tissue because the 4 chord, like anytime you're on a chord, if you go to the 4 chord, the G, for example, that's the 5 of C. So G stays consistent in both of those chords. It's right there. And so it allows you to kind of do that, and what it does is it creates a little bit of what they call a suspension, and that is, you think of it as tension. It creates a little tension that can then be resolved, that can be released. It's amazing. In the blink of an eye, you finally see the light. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. When the moment arrives, you know you'll be all right. Yeah, it's amazing. And I'm saying a prayer for the desperate hearts tonight. So I might do the same thing there on that C chord. Desperate hearts tonight. So what's the 4 chord of a C? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's F. So we just move to an F chord and then back to a C, leaving your bass note alone. Little tension release. So that's just like a really useful thing to do because, like I say, you're bringing the element of a drum fill into your piano playing by doing that. And the suspension, that constant tension release, tension release, tension release, that's one of the most effective things you can do in music, is to create tension that can be resolved and then create tension that can be resolved. People love the feeling of tension being resolved. They don't like being stuck in tension indefinitely, but they do like to feel some tension so that they can feel the satisfaction of resolution. Okay? So, now when we get down to after the final chorus, it's amazing. When the blink of an eye, you finally see the light. Oh, it's amazing. And I'm saying a prayer for the desperate hearts tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4. Desperate hearts. This is where we're going to deploy a little bit of what we call a signature. Now, I want to be very clear. You do not have to get this rhythmic signature in there for this to sound effective. You could simply go, saying a prayer for the desperate hearts tonight. Desperate hearts, desperate hearts. Da 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 da. That's going to be fine if that's what you do. But if you want to include the rhythmic signature, then what's going on, if you listen to it carefully, is 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, So there's a change of chord. 1, 2, 3, chord change. Chord change. That is what we call a signature. It's where you pick something up that was very indicative of what they were doing, that doesn't necessarily fit perfectly into the boundaries of your rhythm pattern or whatever, but you include it because you're trying to sort of harken back, doing a nod to what was in the recording. So it's like C, D minor, D minor, C over E, C, F, at some point in time, they kind of drop that, but in that first, that saying a prayer for the desperate hearts tonight. Desperate hearts. And it's during that section. So it's playing it down for the desperate hearts tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, and desperate hearts. Na 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 na. And then pretty much at that point, you can just go right back to your rhythm pattern and work through the chord sequence. So that's something that you might want to include. Again, it's not necessary to put every signature in. It's not necessary to copy every single nuance, but it's nice to know that you have options if you want to do that. Just as a reference. So this song just comes together really, really beautifully just by the nature of the rhythm pattern. The main thing, there are some chords in this one that you don't have to play anything beyond major or minor to make this one work. But there are a number of chords in this one where they're putting an odd bass note with it, and you really do kind of need those. And that's when they're written with the slash, G/A, right? A minor, G over A. Sometimes you'll see a C over G. And can you hear the difference between this and this? Right, with a C in the bass versus a G in the bass. So you really do kind of need the slash chords, but you don't have to play the sevens, or there's a minor 6 in there. There's a 9, a D9 over an F sharp bass. So, I would say that if you are up to speed with your chords enough to play those nuances, it's helpful. But you could strip this down to just your major and minor only, and it's going to sound awfully good. But really, what carries this one is it's a perfect fit for that. Just a perfect fit for that heartbeat feel. And so, what excites me is that somebody with very limited knowledge and skill and momentum with piano could play something that sounds this good pretty easily, pretty quickly. Let the wrong ones in. Had an angel of mercy to see me through all my sins. There were times in my life when I was going insane. And somebody who's got a lot of experience like me could sit down and dress it up quite a bit, and still it's going to sound great. But at the root of it all is just that rhythm pattern. I picked the right ones out and kept the wrong ones in. I had an angel of mercy to see me through all my sins. And there were times in my life when I was going insane, trying to walk through the pain. So see, it doesn't matter what point of entry you've got, and it doesn't matter what skill set you have. This approach to playing songs allows you to get in and do something fun and credible and awesome with the song immediately. And then you have all the rest of the days of your life to learn new tricks. It's about having a bag full of tricks. And every time you learn a new one, it's not just there for this song. You might pioneer a new technique for this song, but it's there for every song. Like this is every time you learn anything new, anytime you get comfortable playing a more complex chord, or anytime you get a new improv trick that you kind of feel comfortable with, it's a rising tide that lifts all boats because that's available to you in every other song you play. So that's what really turns me on with this. It's so much more flexible and creative than just reading notes on the staff, and I'm not trashing reading notes on the staff. It's a wonderful skill, has its times and its places when it's really, really spectacular, but for sitting down and jamming on your favorite popular songs in the recorded music era, that's a terrible way to go. And this is the method that you're looking for. And it's brought me an enormous amount of joy, as well as thousands of my students and fans around the world for a lot of years. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this. I'm going to let that be enough for today. But I hope that you've walked away with three things. First, a completely different understanding of how you can play piano, how you can approach playing piano and learn songs. Two, I hope you've walked away with something actionable, at least one technique that might help you with this song and might help you with other songs, something that you can bring to your piano playing immediately. And third, I hope that you just had a lot of fun with me analyzing this song, because that's what we're really doing it for, right? Is there anything that we're really trying to get out of this except how we think it's going to make us feel? So the fun should exist in the learning as well as in actually having it mastered and being able to play it. So, and I just love analyzing great songs more than anything. I know that it's called the Piano Man approach, and this is our vessel, our instrument, our tool. But we aren't really about the piano at the Piano Man approach. We are about great songs, the greatest songs ever written and recorded. That's what we're about. We are lovers of songs, and we're enthusiasts, and we celebrate great songs, great songwriting. Because at the end of the day, guess what? You know, I don't have the same voice that these guys do that recorded this stuff, and I'm not even the best piano player. I'm good, but I'm not. There's a lot of stuff that a lot of great pianists can do that I can't, and I'm not a technical genius. So much about the production and the different sounds they use. I mean, I just get lost. I can't do all of that. But the song, if it's a great song, then it will come to life with nothing but the piano and even my voice. It'll come to life if you pick the right rhythm pattern and you have the right chords and some of these simple techniques that we can use to fill a little space and enhance everything. And that's what I love. And so we are enthusiasts over there of great songs. That's what we celebrate. And the piano is nothing more than a tool that we use to bring great songs to life so that we can enjoy being in the middle of the music and not just a spectator on the side. So I'm going to get out of here for now, but remember my personal mantra: if you're not having fun when you're making music, you're doing it wrong. And please, if you want to dive deeper with this, check out my free Song Learning Blueprint mini course, which you can find links for down in the description. There's no obligation, no credit card, nothing like that. It's just there for you to learn my method a little bit more comprehensively. And, of course, then you can check out my paid material as well if you want. All right, I'm out of here for now. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you on the next one, gang.